anytime you make work that's site responsive, it means that you're literally responding to the shared space that is common between multiple people in a city.
Like, I don't think you can ever appeal to everyone. You know, you're always going to have people that see it differently.
Yeah.
And that's hard as a public artist to be in between trying to please everyone and trying to make something different that people haven't seen before.
We were originally approached to design the stairs as these current stairs are being replaced, becoming somewhat dilapidated for the Elbow Island entrance space.
They're sort of the entranceway to the entire project.
Mm-hmm.
They're the guide that brings you down. But they were the impetus for the Wandering Island as well.
The themes we kept coming back to were these ideas of transition and the comparison between civic and natural space. And so the design we landed on through the use of materials and form kind of speaks to transition. So the stairs feel very conventional urban civic infrastructure at the top of the stairs, and then they slowly become a little more organic in change of materials and form as you descend into the space. And this is kind of meant to act as a gateway into the park as a natural space, but also a space for art.
The thing that we landed on first was this idea of moving from urban to natural, because you feel that anyway as you come down onto this island, just because it is such an unaddressed natural space in the middle of the city. So we felt that already, and then we wanted to capture that in the stairs. With a local metal fabricator called Jag Industries, and they've built the first step for us to just to see how it looks in real life, because sometimes things don't translate from digital space to real space, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. They've done such an amazing job. The ribs of the stairs kind of break a bit, and they start kind of becoming almost like grass, or like we do think of them as almost like an animal graveyard, where the ribs of an animal that's decomposing have sort of started peeling apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or like a canoe almost.
Yeah.
Growth, certainly, as well. The
yeah.
idea of them kind of coming out of the island and feeling more natural as the wood starts to appear more on the stairs. It's this transition.
We're hoping that we can make little pockets for rocks to fit in under the stairs.
We kind of stash stuff in the pockets here, because then you get this really interesting effect looking through it, where it's like you're walking over, or kind of like they're underwater, or beneath the surfaces of the stairs.
Entryway here always feels like a bit of a traffic control device. I think it's intimidating as well, which is part of why this park has maintained such a natural feel, because it does, make it less inviting. And so the fact that the platform wraps around the bridge pillar is nice for us as well. It allows more of a viewing space and a deck.
Obviously, stairs are not accessible to everybody, and this island space it's quite rocky and it's difficult to navigate.
It is the nature of the space. It is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it is nice that there's that deck, so that there is an opportunity for people who don't want to come down for one reason or can't come down. There's a nice kind of moment there as well.
The very first thing we did when we were first wandering around here was find skipping rocks and skipping stones and skip stones in the water. And I feel like that's sort of been that's been our beginning point, because it's something very lo-fi that anyone can do. And so all of our designs have sort of indirectly been based on the idea of skipping stones in the water.
When you're walking down over the steps, there's a Moira effect just through the overlapping tread forms that gives you kind of a watery ripple as you look down. So it's this idea that you're kind of walking over a space that transitions into water. But from the bottom, all of these drooping steps and then the concentric spindles on the upper platform kind of come together to give you the idea of a concentric ripple. So the idea of throwing a stone in a pond and you have the expanding rings. And for us, that was kind of an elegant solution in terms of transitioning the shape of the stairs from something very round and organic back to the rigorous right angles of the infrastructure world.
When you're designing, you are designing for time. And so with other public artworks that we've done, we've been able to see like the greenery grow in around them. And suddenly this thing that felt like really alien in the landscape is so much more integrated.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be those like moments of nature kind of like getting really deeply entwined, and like the metal will age, but hopefully they'll like sort of grow into the island.
But the stairs, I think, should last maybe longer than we'll be here. You know, like, I don't think it would be unrealistic to expect them to last like 50 years, which is an impossible thing to think about. You start doing the math on your own mortality at that point.
I feel like that was also, the snow fell the day that you installed the stepping stones, but that was also the snowfall that raised the level of the river to the point where the rest of the project couldn't happen last year. So it was stepping stones were being installed, and then almost right after that they were supposed to install, I think, all the footings for the benches and the stairs.
Yeah, I think originally they had hoped to, at one point have everything installed at the end of last year. It's a challenging spot for sure. Delays are to be expected, but here we are a year later and hoping that it all gets done this time around. The one thing that for us as artists was a little interesting and challenging in some ways was the idea that the stairs aren't necessarily a conceptual artwork. They're informed by concept, and they have references to fish skeleton and canoe building and boat building, these kind of ideas that tie it to the river, but really they feel like they're more design than art, certainly. And I think that's a challenge when art, public art has to fulfill the role of infrastructure as well, which is certainly what this is. And so for us to kind of let go of the drive to have, a critical dialogue integrated into the stairs and just allow them to be more pure design.
We're trying to think of the entire project, The Wandering Island, as being almost like one artwork. And so to think of the stairs as being that literally the first steps into an artwork that will elapse over years. I think it's okay to think about them as being a little bit more pragmatic, just a little bit more functional.
Yeah.
But it was a challenge.
I don't know if there are very many opportunities, especially in the city of Calgary right now, to make art that is not also considered functional in some way. And that was identified on one of the public art plans. After Traveling Light, they said, we want more work that is functional. So that means like bike racks and benches. That means like incorporating art into public infrastructure. But that is hugely challenging as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
To like try and make something that's still in some way art, but also can serve this other function that's deeply pragmatic. And that also means that there's lots of people who need to be incorporated into your design process. And so suddenly you have all these people with like a deep vested interest in making sure that the thing that you're making and aestheticizing and conceptualizing is still functional. One of the requests was, can you make the actual like underfoot component of the stair a grate, because we want water to be able to move through the stairs so that plant life can grow underneath, but we also don't want to have to remove snow because that adds cost and time. But that created another problem, which is that most people who are using the space, give or take, are walking their dogs down here. And so they really wanted to make sure that like a majority of like medium-sized dogs can actually walk on the steps.
Yeah.
So then we had to make sure that the grates were tight enough together that a dog could walk on them, but far enough apart that water could get through and that snow will be able to hopefully get through.
One of the location choices, putting it in front of the bridge pillar or the support, it helps with sort of streamlining the flow should there be a massive flood. But we had to kind of reduce some of our designs to make sure that they were stable enough and strong enough, the sculptural elements, to withstand floodwaters and debris, as well as narrowing them enough that they didn't provide extra drag and resistance to flood.
Yeah, they basically told us right away that anything you design will at some point be underwater.
when you're making public art and public work, thinking about the responsibility that you have to the public, not only as the funders, but really as the viewers and the people who will experience the work, and how you can impart meaning and kind of be thoughtful about them without just being decorative in the artwork.
Like ultimately, I feel like if you're working in public space, your work is relational, and it's about relationships, and it's about human and human relationships, human and non-human relationships, non-human and non-human relationships. Like it's about building relationships, and I feel like a space like this is such a perfect environment to have those relationships in and to build those relationships in.